Reno, Nevada police say they have arrested a suspect in the kidnapping and killing of a 19-year-old college student. Police issued a statement overnight announcing a news conference Wednesday morning on the arrest of a suspect in the slaying of Brianna Denison. Denison was abducted before dawn January 20th as she slept on a couch of a friend's home near the University of Nevada, Reno. Her body was found about a month later in a field in South Reno. Investigators said DNA evidence gathered from the scene linked Denison's killer to 3 other sexual assaults on women at or near the campus from October to December 2007.
A killer crept through the darkness, slipped past sleeping friends, and pressed a pillow over a young woman's face until her blood stained the fabric. By morning, 19-year-old Brianna Denison had vanished from a couch where she'd fallen asleep just hours before. What happened next would expose a predator who had been hunting women in the shadows, collecting twisted trophies, and leaving a trail of terror that would shake an entire nation. Welcome back to Cold Crime Cases. Before we dive into this haunting story, subscribing is free, but it helps uncover the next hidden case before it happens again. Also, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I love connecting with viewers from around the world, and your support keeps these stories alive. Brianna Denison entered this world on March 29, 1988, in Reno, Nevada. Her childhood was marked by both love and loss when her father died unexpectedly when she was just 6 years old. The tragedy devastated the family, but it forged an unbreakable bond between Brianna and her mother. She became the little helper, the one who stepped up when life knocked them down. The Denison family found healing through adventure. They traversed half of Europe together, explored the ancient temples of Japan, and Brianna even spent an entire year in Italy as an exchange student. These experiences shaped her into a compassionate young woman with dreams of becoming a child psychologist. After high school graduation, she headed to Santa Barbara City College in California, ready to build her future helping children. But fate would bring her home one last time. In January 2008, during winter break, 19-year-old Brianna returned to Reno to spend precious time with family and childhood friends. She was supposed to stay with her best friend for the weekend, along with another girl. Their plans were perfect: skiing by day, concerts, and nightclubs by night. It should have been the kind of weekend that creates lifelong memories. On Saturday evening, January 19th, Brianna felt sick with a cold. Her mother encouraged her to go to the concert anyway, not wanting her to miss seeing one of her favorite bands. Brianna pushed through her illness and went, but left early, hoping to rest and recover. The temperature outside was brutal, well below freezing, and she didn't want to walk home. In what seemed like a stroke of luck at the time, she spotted a car pulling out of the concert venue parking lot. She asked the driver for a ride, and he agreed. This simple act of kindness would later become a crucial piece of the investigation puzzle. Back at her friend's house, Brianna settled in to wait. The house felt safe and familiar. When her friends returned around 3:30 a.m., they chatted briefly before everyone headed to bed. Around 4:30 a.m., Brianna sent her final text message to her boyfriend, then curled up on the kitchen couch with a blanket and a teddy bear she used as an extra pillow. Her friend slept peacefully in the next room, completely unaware that evil was about to shatter their world. When they woke up around 9 a.m. to make breakfast, the couch was empty. At first, they assumed Brianna had moved to the bedroom with the closed door. 40 minutes passed before someone knocked to wake her for breakfast. No answer. They knocked again. Still silence. When they finally opened the door, terror crept into their hearts. The room was empty. A frantic search of the entire house revealed the impossible: Brianna was nowhere to be found. But everything she owned remained untouched. Her phone, purse, clothes, even her shoes sat exactly where she'd left them. The temperature outside was still below freezing, and they couldn't fathom why she would venture out in just a t-shirt. Then they saw it. On the pillow where Brianna had slept, small reddish stains caught their attention. Stains that looked horrifyingly like blood. Panic consumed them as they called her mother, who had no idea where her daughter could be. While racing to the house, the friends made another chilling discovery. The blanket Brianna had been sleeping under was lying several feet from the couch. The teddy bear she'd used as a pillow was missing entirely. Police arrived almost immediately and found no signs of forced entry. But there was one crucial detail: the front door, located directly in front of where Brianna had been sleeping, was never locked. Detectives quickly developed their theory. This wasn't a voluntary disappearance. Someone had entered that house and taken Brianna against her will. But how could an abductor remove a struggling victim without waking two people sleeping mere feet away? Forensic experts provided the horrifying answer. The blood on the pillow was confirmed to be Brianna's. Based on the evidence, investigators believed the killer had pressed her face into the pillow with enough force to muffle any sounds she might have made. It was a calculated, brutal act that spoke to experience. DNA testing of the front door handle revealed genetic material from an unknown male who wasn't in any criminal database. The monster had left his calling card, but his identity remained a mystery. Police launched the most extensive search in the city's history. They went door to door in the neighborhood, asking men to voluntarily provide DNA samples. Meanwhile, investigators examined Brianna's phone and discovered troubling messages from her boyfriend. He'd sent multiple insults the night she vanished, and friends confirmed their relationship was crumbling. This led to him being briefly considered a suspect until his alibi was confirmed. He was in another state and couldn't have been involved. If you enjoy the stories I share here, you'll love my new book, True Crime Survival Guide: How to Stay Safe in a Dangerous World. It goes deeper, with real case lessons and practical tips to help keep you safe. Get it now through the link in the description and pinned comment. Brianna's disappearance exploded into national news. Her photograph appeared on billboards across the country. Local media provided constant updates. The public response was overwhelming, with concerned citizens raising $150,000 to help process the massive amount of DNA evidence being collected. In total, police gathered approximately 3,000 DNA samples from local residents. Every single sample was processed, but none matched the suspect's DNA. The killer remained a ghost. The FBI joined the investigation, bringing additional resources and expertise. They first focused on the man who had given Brianna a ride home from the concert. When media reports mentioned police wanted to speak with him, he voluntarily came forward, provided DNA, and presented a solid alibi. He was cleared. A neighbor living directly across from the friend's house provided another intriguing lead. He'd been awake that night and sitting in his living room around 5 a.m. when he noticed a shadow pass by his window. Someone then tried to open his front door repeatedly before giving up. He'd initially dismissed it as a drunk person mistaking houses, but now it took on sinister significance. As the search intensified, volunteers joined police efforts. Helicopters scanned from above while officers with search dogs combed through forests, fields, and drainage ditches. Despite these massive efforts, no trace of Brianna emerged. Investigators suspected this wasn't the perpetrator's first crime. They began examining unsolved cases in Reno and discovered two attacks that made their blood run cold. In November 2007, just months before Brianna vanished, an unknown man attacked a 21-year-old college student in a parking lot. He knocked her down, pulled a gun, and assaulted her while ordering her to stay quiet. When she screamed instead, he fled in panic, dropping a pack of condoms. A month later, another attack occurred. A 22-year-old student was standing outside her home when a man covered her mouth and nose from behind, causing her to lose consciousness. She awakened in the cab of a pickup truck, where she was sexually assaulted. The attacker ordered her not to look at him and drove her back home, warning her not to turn around as she walked to her door. The second victim provided a partial description: a white male, heavyset with tanned arms, driving a pickup truck. Most disturbingly, she noticed a child's shoe inside the vehicle. Both attacks shared another chilling similarity. The perpetrator took his victim's underwear as trophies. DNA from both women matched each other, and when compared to the sample from Brianna's door handle, investigators got the confirmation they dreaded. They were hunting a serial predator. When this information reached the public, another student came forward. Someone had tried to break into her home, yanking on the front door handle so violently it bent, but failing to gain entry. Using victim descriptions, police created a composite sketch: a man of average height, between 28 and 40 years old, with a solid, muscular build. His portrait was distributed to newspapers and television stations along with desperate pleas for public assistance. Terror gripped Reno. Residents realized a serial predator was operating in their community, and it seemed only a matter of time before he struck again. Gun and pepper spray sales skyrocketed. Women were afraid to stay home alone. The entire city lived in fear. Despite intense public pressure and media attention, investigators remained no closer to an arrest. With each passing day, hope for Brianna's survival diminished. Divers searched the local river while hundreds of volunteers braved freezing temperatures to help look for her body. Police received over 5,000 tips, but not one brought them closer to finding Brianna or her killer. This nightmare continued for almost a month until February 15, when everything changed. A worker heading out for lunch decided to cut through an abandoned lot to save time. As he walked toward a cafe, he spotted a discarded Christmas tree lying in a ditch. Something caught his eye, a pair of socks sticking out from behind the tree. Moving closer, he saw what appeared to be a human figure. His first thought was that someone had dumped a mannequin, but the horrible reality quickly set in. It was a body, and he immediately called police. The medical examiner confirmed everyone's worst fears. It was Brianna Denison. She had died from strangulation, with marks on her neck indicating the killer had used underwear to murder her. The pathologist determined she'd been killed inside the house and her body moved later, meaning she'd been dead since the day she disappeared. The killer had left her completely naked except for socks. Next to her body lay 2 pairs of women's underwear. One belonged to Brianna's friend, who hadn't even realized they were missing. The other pair was unknown. Investigators believed the killer had deliberately left them to taunt police. Brianna had also been sexually assaulted, and male DNA recovered from her body matched the samples from the previous attacks and the door handle. The news devastated the entire city. Thousands had followed the case, clinging to hope she might still be alive. Her death felt personal to everyone who had prayed for her safe return. Police continued their investigation, sharing more details with the public about the killer's apparent obsession with collecting victims' underwear. They hoped someone might recognize this disturbing behavior, but no useful tips materialized. The case seemed destined to go cold. Despite dozens of officers working around the clock, every lead ended in frustration. The killer appeared to have successfully evaded justice. But on November 1, almost a year after the murder, an anonymous caller changed everything. The caller revealed that a friend had found women's underwear in her boyfriend's pickup truck. When confronted, his explanation was suspicious at best. More importantly, shortly after Brianna's murder, this man had sold his truck and left town. That man was 27-year-old James Biela. Police immediately focused their attention on Biela, a former Marine with extensive martial arts training. At the time of Brianna's murder, he'd been working construction jobs near the university, right in the area where Brianna's friend lived. He knew the neighborhood intimately. Further investigation revealed Biela's violent history. His ex-girlfriend reported multiple instances of physical abuse and said he'd once nearly killed someone with a knife. In another incident, he'd broken a dog's leg for no apparent reason. Despite this pattern of violence, he'd never been charged with anything, and police had never collected his DNA. Detectives learned Biela had returned to Reno, so they placed him under 24-hour surveillance. When they called asking to meet, he agreed without even asking what it was about. During questioning, Biela claimed he'd been with his girlfriend the night Brianna was killed. But when detectives requested a DNA sample, he flatly refused. His ex-girlfriend quickly destroyed his alibi, confirming he hadn't been with her that night. She also revealed they had a 4-year-old son together. When investigators asked for the child's DNA sample, she agreed. Lab results were damning. The killer's DNA was a near-perfect match to the boy's, meaning someone in the child's immediate family was responsible for the crimes. Armed with this evidence, detectives returned to arrest Biela on charges connected to all 3 cases. He maintained his innocence even as the evidence mounted against him. This took me hours of painful research, reading autopsies, police files, and the cries of mothers that were ignored. If you felt safe watching from your screen, the least you can do is hit that red subscribe button. During the investigation, Biela's father revealed his son's long history of drug abuse, which had led to his dismissal from the Marines. Testing of his old van showed fibers from the seat covers matched fibers found on clothing of another kidnapping victim. His former employer provided another crucial detail: Biela had quit his job the exact same day Brianna's body was found and immediately left the state. At trial, Biela's attorney tried arguing the cases weren't connected, claiming each crime had different signatures. But the prosecution's overwhelming evidence linking Biela to every attack made these arguments meaningless. Biela's courtroom behavior didn't help his cause. He was observed smiling and smirking throughout the proceedings, showing no remorse for the terror he'd inflicted. In May 2010, just over 2 years after Brianna's murder, the jury found James Biela guilty on all counts. During sentencing, where the death penalty was possible, his lawyer desperately tried to avoid the harshest punishment. They spoke of his troubled childhood, his alcoholic father's abuse, and his good behavior in jail. None of it mattered. The judge sentenced Biela to death. Months later, he received 4 additional life sentences for other charges, ensuring that even if his execution never occurs, he will never walk free again. In subsequent years, Biela's lawyers attempted multiple times to overturn the death sentence, but the state Supreme Court upheld the penalty each time. James Biela remains on death row with no set execution date. Following his arrest, Brianna's family fought for new legislation in Nevada requiring police to collect DNA from anyone arrested for violent crimes. They believed such a policy might have caught Biela after his first attack, potentially saving Brianna's life. Tragically, the family's suffering didn't end with Brianna's death. Exactly 10 years later, her 19-year-old cousin disappeared and has never been found. She told her parents she was traveling to another state with a recently met man, then stopped answering her phone. The family fears the worst but continues hoping for her safe return. These cases remind us how dangerous the world can be. That's why I created a survival guide that shows you real safety strategies drawn from true crime stories. Check out True Crime Survival Guide. The link is waiting for you in the description and pinned comment. Brianna Denison's story serves as a haunting reminder that evil can strike anywhere, anytime, even in places we consider safe. Her memory lives on through her family's advocacy for victims' rights and DNA collection laws that might prevent future tragedies. What are your thoughts on this case? Share them in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button if this video affected you. Your engagement helps these important stories reach more people. Subscribe for more cold cases, and remember to ring that notification bell so you never miss when justice finally finds its way to those who need it most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next case.